Welcome back to the new video of building ChatGPT from scratch. This is the part 2 of the video. So in the previous video, we looked into different aspects of Olama. How do we get the um, chat model of the Olama and different aspects we also looked into LangGraph concepts where we can persist the given context and we can also create a new context for each users. So these things we covered in that video. You can there is a link in the description. You can check it out if you are new to the channel. And in this video we'll be talking three more important topics which is related to chatbot building. So one is the prompt template. So we'll talk about prompt template, and there is one more concept regarding the managing of conversation history. So that is a very crucial step when you are building a chatbot. That is the second topic which we'll be talking about, and at the end we will wrap it up using streaming concept. So we'll also talk about streaming and how we can do it using Langchain, right? So these are the three important topics which currently are there in this particular video of part 2. In the later videos I'll come up with the UI interface and also how do we chain different stuff in order to build a conversation. So at the end of the day, at the end of this series, you will be able to build your own chat GPT interface with the Llama 3.1 model using Olama, so that everything will be offline. You can just for your use case you can just use that whenever you want. So it will be just like a chat GPT, also having all the conversation history, everything, right? So with that said, we'll start with the today's video. So first thing is prompt templates. So in the previous videos I'll also link those things in the description. We talked about prompt templates and how we can do it using Olama. So in this video we will also explore more on the chat model side of the prompt templates. So for the one who doesn't understand prompt template and he or she is new to the field, then I'll just give you a small explanation of that. So in the prompt template we can make use of variables, and we can try to add new values to the prompt without changing the prompt every time we want a different prompt. So we'll come to that. You'll get more about how we can write the prompts. So we'll start with the basic ones first. So what I'm doing is I'm just importing chat prompt template and message placeholder from Langchain code.prompts. So these are the two important classes which we need. So I'm just creating a prompt out of that. I just do chat prompt dot messages from messages, and then inside that I'm just setting a system message. So I'm just telling the model that you talk like a spiritual guru, answer all the questions to the best of your ability. So I'm giving the model a context that okay, you are a spiritual guru, and respond in that way itself. Okay, and in the message placeholder variable name, I'm just setting it as messages. So this is the very basic prompt template usage. We don't have multiple variables here, we'll come to that, but this is a very simple one. Okay, I'll just run this one and then we'll start next. Okay, so this one I think you are already familiar with this code. We have already done that to create a workflow. The only thing which we need to change when we use prompt template is this line. We just say chain equal to prompt pipe symbol and model, so that it will pick the prompt variable which we have created, and we just use that. That's all. We are not doing anything. We are just updating this particular chain, and chain next we are calling it for the query, right? So only this small change is required, and then we can able to use the prompt templates. Okay, so here what I'm doing, I'm just setting a configuration, and thread ID I'm setting it as 3, and in this one I'm just saying hi, I'm Vishal, and then I'm just running this one. I'll just run this. So you can see here we already gave a context that the model is a spiritual guru, so it started responding in that manner itself. So it has become more spiritual and it's trying to build the conversation. So this is power of having a system messages, right? So in the same way I'll just do one more query, what is my name. So this is the same thing which we did in the last video, but with the prompt template we are trying to do it this time. Okay, so it told that okay, it's the name is Vishal, so it's keeping the context as well. So now everything is working. So I'm just trying to map it to the last video's responses, right? So same questions I have asked. Now let's try to build more complex prompts. So I'm just updating the prompt variable here. So same thing, chat prompt template dot from messages. So in the system message, I'm just doing you are a helpful assistant, answer all questions to the best of your ability in this language. So this language is dynamic, so we can have different, we can attach different variables to that particular language thing, and then it will respond in that particular language itself. So in the same manner, I'm just using this variable name as messages in the messages placeholder class, right? So this I have added this small change I have done. Okay, so now next, so now again we need to create a workflow, because the model the prompt which we wanted is changed now, because earlier we just had one prompt, right? So we just had one prompt earlier. Now we have one more variable attached to that. We need to also specify to the model that which language you need to answer, right? So to do that, I just need to change this particular class. So this state class which is getting used here, right? So which is getting used here, I'm just adding messages and language. These are the two properties which we need in order to complete the task, right? So one is we need a message, and second is the language. Language is a string thing. We just want to pass a string value to that one as the language input. Rest everything remains same. So same chain equal to prompt slash model, and then chain dot invoke. So everything remains same. We just need to change these three lines here. I'll just run this code now. So what I'm doing here is I'm just setting the configuration to thread 4, just a fresh conversation I want to make. And I'm just in the query, I'm just typing hi, I'm John, and then language is Hindi. So I have told the model that okay, whatever you respond in Hindi language, right? So now when I try to hit this one, so let's say I'm in the invoke also, I'm just passing these two things. One is input messages, which I have built using human message, which is again query itself, and in the language I'm just passing language, right? So I'll just print this one. Let's see how it responds. Okay, so now the response is in Hindi language, right? So it took that particular property seriously, and it actually changed the language to Hindi. So now this model, this bot is actually responding in Hindi language. So that is great. Now there is one more thing to it. So here what we are doing is we are setting the state, right? Setting the state with messages and language, right? So entire instance is getting persisted, entire context is getting persisted. So whenever you write a language as the second parameter, you don't have to send this language input every time, because the entire context is getting saved. So you don't have to send the language each and every time whenever you are prompting, right? So this time I have just told what is my name in the query, and I'm not passing any language. But since we are already storing the context of language, it also already takes it as a Hindi language itself. So you can see here it responded in Hindi itself again, even though we have not passed any language property. So this is the power of having the context and having the state. So this was the very basic version of prompt templates. We can definitely play around with this and then try to get different aspects of prompt templates, but on the higher level this is what it is. Okay, so if you have any doubts or questions in this particular section, please feel free to comment in the comment section so that I can respond to that, and we both can learn, right? Okay, so next topic is managing conversation history. So before diving into this one, I want to give you a real world experience or real world example of how this one is getting used in our brain. So just assume that you are texting with your friend in WhatsApp, right? So you have been, I think, let's say you have been friend with that particular person since 2 years, right? So you started texting him or her 2 years back, and still now you text with that person regularly. So how long you can hold the context of the conversation? So it's highly probable that you don't know the context what you typed like 1.5 years back, right? So you only know the context of 1 or 2 days. So if you're typing something, like let's say you asked what did you had for dinner, right? 1 year back. So now if I ask you, you don't know what he responded because you don't have that context. So same thing is applied in this chat model also. So uh, there is certain context window for the LLM, right? Only this much context it can take. It should not exceed that particular limit. So there will be some limit. So in the chat model, what happens, or chat app application, what happens? You generally try to text a lot. Like let's say there are hundreds of message exchanges which you have done with the model. So it at the after a point it will be very hard for the model to understand, keep the context of entire conversation, right? So that will be very hard. So what the idea here is to trim off the starting part of the conversations, keep on trimming off the starting part, so that you will only be able to the model will be only be able to hold the context for like 4 or 5 conversations only. It's not like whatever you started with the beginning, it keeps context of everything. So that will be overwhelming for the model also. So that is the idea. So in that is what managing conversation history means also. So if conversation history is left unmanaged, the list of messages will grow unbounded, right? And potentially overflow the context window of the LLM. Therefore it is important to add a step that limits the size of the messages you are passing in. So this is the very crucial part when you are building a chat application, because quickly it will be very overwhelming for the bot or the model to understand the context, because it's a huge context, right? So let's try to develop that. Let's try to see how it functions internally. For to do that, we want a package called transformers. You can just do pip install transformers and get it ready. So here what's happening is I'm using system message, and that is that, anyways you know that, and I'm using trim messages. So these are coming from Langchain core.messages. So what does this trim messages do is, we'll configure few aspects of that. So max token 60, we can just for each message, whenever you prompt to the model, it will just keep the max 60 tokens context. And this strategy last means you will be only storing the last 60 token messages, so that the model will know what you have been conversating for, like let's say 2 or 3 conversations. Not apart from that, it doesn't know the context. Okay. Rest other things, again, it's on you to understand, and then you can also comment in the comment section explaining these 4 properties. I'll leave it to you. Okay. And I have also added a list of messages. So system message, human message, AI message, human, AI. So this is kind of a conversation or interactive conversation between the model. So in the first beginning, I'm just saying I'm establishing my name, and then I'm also telling I like vanilla ice cream, and then I've asked some math questions. So these are the conversation which I did. Okay. So I'll just run this one, and we can just say trimmer.invoke messages. Okay. So it invoked this particular message, right? So next is the change which we need to do in the workflow. So in the change, what we need to do is, before calling the invoke function, the actual invoke function, we just need to add this trimmed messages is equal to trimmer.invoke, and then inside the state we are having all the messages, right? So we are just passing the state messages. Okay, this trimmer will take care of trimming that in the whatever strategy which we have selected. And in the messages, we, instead of sending the messages, we are sending the trimmed messages. So in this way, it will trim off the unwanted part of the messages. Okay, now let's try asking the first question. So in the beginning, I texted I am Bob, right? So let's try to ask the model what is my name, because we want to know whether the model is keeping that context or not. So let's try to do that. So I'm just saying what is my name, and I'm just specifying the language as English. So it is telling you didn't tell me your name, even though I have told the model my name, but still it doesn't know the context of this particular message because this was trimmed off. These messages were trimmed off. Only starting from this, it is there. So let's try to do that also. So what if we ask what math problem did I ask, right? So I asked what's 2 plus 2, right? So let's try to give it a run. So it told you asked me to calculate the sum of 2 plus 2, right? So you got to know. This trimming part is very important to manage the pricing of the model as well, because it will be a huge it will be very costly for someone to push entire context of the conversation. Instead, we can just rely on 3 or 4 conversations, because most of the context will be there in that particular messages itself. You don't have to go up to the start to the beginning and get all the context to the model. Okay, so this is all about managing the conversation history. Now we will talk about streaming, right? So let me tell you what streaming means here. So normally what happens, LLMs will take some time to load the response. It will keep on generating one after the other, one character after the other character, right? It starts generating the response, and let's say if the response is huge, then user have to wait for a long time in order to get the response. So user might be like, okay, whether is it stuck or how is it, we don't know. The UX of that particular chat application will be very poor, because user have to wait like, let's say, 1 minute to get the response. So that is the reason we have this streaming. So in the streaming, what happens, whatever the model has developed the response, whatever the model has created the response, it will just push it back to the system. So it will just send you that particular chunk of response, so that the user get to see the response getting generated. So in the chat gpt also, you can see that, okay, whenever you query something or prompt something, you will start getting the response one after the other, even though it is not like as a whole, it is not coming, it's coming in chunks. So that is called as streaming. And in the chat application, it's a good idea to have this particular feature instead of getting everything at once, right? So to do this, we just need to have small changes, and then we can get that particular feature up and running. So I'll just go through this important code block. So we write a for loop, and we can say chunk and metadata. Chunk is actual message content which is there, and metadata is a kind of a metadata of that particular message, like where it's coming from, how many tokens are there, all those things will be stored in the metadata. So we just say app.stream, and inside that we are just passing the input, we already know this, and config also we are passing, we already know this. And this is a new one, that is stream mode, that is messages. We need to get the stream mode in the messages format, so that is what we are specifying. And inside this for loop, so this is just one line, you assume this is just one line, and inside this for loop we are checking if the chunk is of type AI message. So why we are checking is, we just want to filter out only model messages. Whatever the model has responding, that message we need to display to user. So that is the reason I'm just checking the instance whether it's of AI message class or not. If yes, then I'm just printing the content of that chunk, and I'm ending it with pipe symbol, just to showcase that, okay, these only this much was given as a response from the model, and then next was coming in the next chunk. So I'll just run this one. If you see, it started getting me the response as soon as it has some content. So nice was sent first, after that it sent two, after that it sent meet, you, all these things it sent one after the other. Even the Sohan was not sent entirely at once. SO was sent first and HAN was sent after that. So in this way you will get to see the generation of the messages immediately after you query it. So this was the example and showcase of streaming feature. So in this video I'll just summarize it. So what we learned was prompt templates, so how we can use it, how we can use and implement prompt templates, and we also learned how to manage conversation history. So that is what we learned in this one, and we also learned how to implement streaming. So um, these are the important aspects of chat gpt or any chat application. So once these are ready, this basic stuffs are ready, then we can dive into actual implementation of chat gpt interface. And also we need to rely on Langchain to chain different stuff, so that is in the upcoming videos, but in this video this is what I have got you. Yeah, so if you like this video you can consider subscribing and liking this video, and see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.